Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. We have a lot of good questions to get to this week, so I'm going to dive right into them. First one comes from Cajun Raider, who wants to know, he says, although there are guys that could cover for some of Davide Moretti's talents, the fact that he signed with Olympia Milano, he went pro, he's foregoing his senior season at Texas Tech. Cajun Raider wants to know specifically how Tech is going to make up for his ability as a money free throw shooter, a 90% plus free throw shooter at the end of the game, and they would give the ball to Morrow and expect him to make free throws and ice the game. Well, in all honesty, his junior year, Morrow cost Tech, or at least had an opportunity to ice games or really give Tech a chance to win games late and miss them. So while he was a great free throw shooter and he made some clutch free throws, especially as a sophomore. Just to be honest, that's not something that I think they're going to miss as much as you'd expect. For example, Mac McClung coming in, if he's eligible, he's an 80% plus free throw shooter. Namari Burnett, I've seen him in games have to make clutch free throws and clutch plays. I think they could count on him even as a true freshman. They have some guys. Joel Ntomboy was a very good free throw shooter at UNLV. So we'll have to see who truly has that ice water in their veins. But, I think they're going to have options. I believe they're going to have guys who, when called upon, will step up and be able to knock those free throws down. Now, what Davide, you didn't ask this specifically, but what I think, it's going to be the hardest to replace for Morrow is just knowing the program, knowing what's expected, his leadership by example, the professional way, and this is something that Coach Beard has said before, just the professional way he went about his business of, practicing in school, and working out, and just you could always count on Morrow to be there doing his job. So, and that's something that's, I think, probably reported about the least because it's not really exciting to talk about, but having those guys there that provide that kind of example of what's expected in terms of work ethic and, dedication to the program is invaluable. So that's, to me, what I was anticipating Morrow bringing. Of course, he's a good shooter, good ball handler and all that, but I think all the tangible things are going to be covered by this amazing roster that's coming back. I think some of the intangibles, not necessarily him as a vocal leader, but more of a leader example, is going to be what's difficult to replace. But if you don't work hard, you don't stay in this program very long. So you don't stay in Chris Beard's program. So somebody's going to step up and show, what's expected for sure. The next question comes from Prosper. He wants to know, when does Jonathan Kuminga, the number one prospect right now in the 2021 class, who recently had Texas Tech as one of his top 5 options, along with Duke, Kentucky, Auburn, and the G League, which I'm going to get into that in a second. But he wants to know, when does Kuminga have to decide on whether he is a 2020 grad or 2021? So this is complicated. And of course, I think the higher rated the recruit, sometimes, especially in basketball, I think, and maybe baseball, the more complicated the recruitment gets. So there's a couple of things with Jonathan Kuminga here. There's been a lot of talk about will he or won't he reclassify. Now, in order to reclassify, you have to be academically eligible. And I honestly don't know how close he is or is not to having enough credits. And you still have to have the amount of credits that are required in order for you to attend college. Now, the next question is, well, what if he wants to reclassify and go G League? Well, here's the deal. With the G League, and this isn't often reported, but there's still a college scholarship involved with the G League route, meaning they're still going to set you up. Like, you still are going to start kind of, a college academic career. It's not going to be anything like it would be if you went to Texas Tech and, or Auburn or Duke or Kentucky. But they still want that to be a part of the G League experience. So if Kuminga was to go join this G League team and go that route, that developmental route, he would still have to be academically eligible, still have to have the credits in order to reclassify for 2020. So when would the cutoff date be? I would imagine it would be before fall. He'd have to, by the end of summer 2, he would have to have all the credits necessary to reclassify. So, all right, our next question comes from RJM2186. He had a normal size or length question, but a really long explanation, which I'm not going to read all of it, even though I kind of said I might because it'd be funny, but that would take that'd take a lot of time. But his question is basically, are we witnessing an active effort by the current coaching staff to change the identity of this football program through recruiting and establishing a new culture or philosophy? Or are they just trying to create a better version of the team we've seen for the last 15, 20 years? Well, look, I think, to me, there's no doubt they're trying. I mean, and they've stated this. And I think every coach, when they come in, they say, oh, we're going to change the culture, we're going to change the philosophy, the identity. But there's no doubt that Coach Wells wants to change the program, change the philosophy, change the identity. And I'll tell you what, I'll break it down for you in three phases. One is the head coach. Coach Kingsbury was more of an offensive guru who was also the head coach. He himself has admitted he probably didn't put give as much attention to recruiting as he should have. Coach Wells is more of the CEO. He has an offensive coordinator, he has a defensive coordinator, he has a special teams coordinator. And when you go to practice, he bounces around everywhere, first off. But he's not just stuck with the quarterbacks or stuck with the offense. He goes and he'll normally have, they have recruits out there. They have high school coaches out there. They have the media out there. They have all friends of the program, whatever you want to call it. All those people, he'll go and shake hands, talk to them, including us lowly media members. He does the CEO type. I think the prototypical CEO of the modern era, or at least of let's say the 21st century, in my mind, is Mac Brown. And we've seen the success he's had twice now at North Carolina and then at UT. I think there's many ways to skin a cat. I think there's many ways to be a successful college football head coach. But in my opinion, my favorite style is the CEO approach, because I think you do need that guy to talk with the boosters, make sure do all the media requirements. I mean, there's just the recruiting. Wells. It's another way he's very different. You mentioned recruiting, and I mentioned Kingsbury's admittance to not giving it as much attention as maybe he should have. Well, Coach Wells is maniacal about it, and I think we've seen some early benefits from that. I think they are recruiting at a better rate than before, and I think it is solely because they are doing those things in terms of going out and then opening up the program and having high school coaches, out to Texas Tech, going speaking at all the high school conventions that they can, visiting schools that don't even have big time prospects in the class or the next recruiting cycle, but just kind of establishing that relationship. I mean, they're doing all those things that I think are necessary that perhaps weren't happening before, and that was a conscious choice. You got to choose where you're going to spend your time, and this isn't like a bad mouthing Kingsbury. Obviously, it didn't work out, but it doesn't mean that his philosophy absolutely does not work. You asked if it's a different philosophy. It is, and that is how. I personally think it's more conducive to winning and doing better in terms of on the recruiting trail. So, and then let's go offensively. Obviously under Kingsbury, wild success. We had Pat Mahomes here put up just and other quarterbacks, just crazy numbers, video game numbers, very wide open, spread out. But he also ran the ball some, especially when he had DeAndre Washington. I mean, he was a back-to-back 1,000-yard back. He also was a first-team All-Big 12 back. And I think at one point he was actually 50-50 in terms of running and passing. But, in terms of philosophy, the biggest difference is Kingsbury, and this is something I asked him about and we talked about several times, was his philosophy was, look, go up, read what the defense is showing you, and take what they give you, and punish them for whatever they do. And if the box dictated you throw, then that's what they would do. If they dictated if it was a light box trying to stop the pass, then you ran. That's what he did, and to great success. That's not what Texas Tech wants to do now. What they want to do now is dictate when they can run the ball. It's like when they want to run the ball, they want to be able to do it even if the other team knows it's coming. And one of the ways they do that, I think this has been highly publicized, is through using tight ends and versatile tight ends in multiple positions, multiple formations. I think at some point, once they get the personnel the way they want it, they're going to do it with 12 personnel, 13 personnel, where you have 2 or 3 versatile tight ends who are good receivers, but also very good blockers. And that the way you use them in formations will get the defense where you want them instead of just reacting to how they're lining up. And have angles, numbers, all kinds of advantages in your running game. So that, that's a huge difference. I mean, that's Coach Wells. One of the first things he said in his introduction when he was introduced in Lubbock was that they want to be able to run the football in November, and that's what it's going to take to win the Big 12. I agree with that. Tech hasn't really been able to do that in a long time, including in Coach Wells' first season. So we'll have to see. You need the personnel matters. So we'll have to see what happens there. And then defensively, very different philosophy. Even though they both run a 3-3-5 stack, Coach Gibbs did, and then Coach Patterson. I mean, everybody runs almost in the Big 12 and in college now some kind of 3-3-5. You get the 4-eye technique. But the major philosophical difference between Gibbs as defensive coordinator and Coach Patterson is that, first off, Coach Gibbs really believed in more of a, not bend but don't break, but kind of a zone principle where you kind of react. Once again, you're just kind of reacting to what the offense does. And it's kind of like you're forcing the offense to methodically move down the field, and you hope they make a mistake and you get a turnover, which, there was a couple seasons where Tech's defenses, they got a lot of turnovers under Coach Gibbs. There were some where we just saw Tech was methodically destroyed on defense, or then sometimes not methodically destroyed. With Coach Patterson, now he's going to blitz more. That's just the bump. Coach Patterson's going to blitz more. He's going to take more chances. He has more man scheme in his defense at times. It's more of an attacking. When all else fails, last year he had Jordan Brooks as a spy, so that allowed him to be. He didn't have to be quite as aggressive, but when Brooks was hurt, he was out. Like you look against TCU, he blitzed like he brought the house a lot, and really got after them, and it was highly successful. So what he needs right now, in terms of make that philosophy work, is more DBs and better DBs, to be honest, and develop the guys, in the program right now. So really, the philosophy, offense, defense, and then just recruiting. Both of them are very different. So very different identity trying to be established. I think it's an uphill battle. It's going to take some time. I don't know if Tech fans are going to be patient enough because it's been so long since Tech has been significant, really, even in just the Big 12. But I think you can see the plan and that they're enacting the plan, but it's just, are they going to be able to do it in time before the fan base loses patience or not? I don't know. We'll find out. I am fascinated to find out, and I'll be there with you. The final question. All right. The final question comes from Texas Tech Austin, who wants to know: is the alley-oop back for the basketball team? Oh boy, is it ever! One of the things he's referring to is Mac McClung committing and signing with Texas Tech. 6'2" guard who, man, he's known for his 48-inch vertical and dunking. All these highlight reel dunks. I mean, alley-oop dunks, 360 dunks, put the ball between the legs in a game, windmill dunks. And yes, absolutely, with the athletes they're going to have. You look at Terrence Shannon, even Kevin McCullough, Tyreek Smith, who was out. He was a freshman who was out last year with the injury. He's known for his dunks. You go on, and then Namari Burnett coming in, Micah Peavy, Chibuzo Agbo, all big-time dunkers. Namari Burnett, I recently did a my take on him, and he had, I don't know, watching all his videos, he had maybe 20 alley-oops. I think you can see that with him and Mac, with Namari and Mac, and some of those. Terrence Shannon, and he's one of the most exciting players in all college basketball in terms of, skywalking. So, absolutely, the alley-oop's going to be back. And I tell you what, I've, just in some of the practices I've been to at Texas Tech, they practice alley-oops. So it's not going to happen by accident. That's part of their game. They want to utilize that, and they certainly are going to have the athletes to do so next season. So With that, I want to thank y'all for some great questions as always, and also thank you for watching. And until next time.